Okay.
Buckle your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, because we're live in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where all wrestling matters. And, I'm excited about our guest tonight because it's been a great string of guests here on Sportswire Radio this year. And this man continues all the momentum. You heard of Stud Bronson was here and talked about his match with this guy Savio Vega, who apparently was so responsible for the career of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Both men were here. This guy Rhino, who some would say was the last proper ECW world champion, the most recent inductee into the TNA Wrestling Hall of Fame, he was here. There was this guy James Fury, who was an extra in MLW, and a guy that, well, our mutual friend has been a fan of for years. We'll talk about him. Maybe, maybe not. There was this guy who many people talked about named Doug Pinnick of King's X, where my interview was featured on blabbermouth.net, and he's opening up for Tool this Friday. And how do we top all of it? A man that is back-to-back years in the PWI 500. A man less than 5 months ago wrestled on AEW's Collision against the House of Black. A man that is wrestled in Japan. A man that is wrestled in GCW. A man that defeated one half of one of the most recent WWE SmackDown Tag Team Champions from the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley. As a matter of fact, our guest, you might even say, is one of the reasons why Alex Shelley went to WWE, because he couldn't hang with him in the ring. And he said, you know what? Maybe I should go to the WWE because I can't hang with the Alpha Zoe and Speedball Mike Bailey. He's teamed with him and he's beating him in the ring, and we can keep going. Well, I only have a minute of time with our guest, but I tell you what, we're going to be talking about a match here that I'm excited about because it's a first for Sportswire Radio in my history, in my career, because we're going to have a battle of two men that were in this year's PWI 500. That's right. Our guest is going to be wrestling a man that I've known for a very long time, a man that I've seen in places like Mexico, which our guest would like to go to. And I'm not going to remind him about the passport issue. A man that has wrestled fellow WWE alumni and defeated them. And it's really almost, you might want to say, a main event within a main event. It's one of the most important matches of my career on this platform to promote. And we're going to talk about our guest and Vito Fratelli and forget about anything else that Vito's got to say. I got the Alpha Zoe here to talk about that, plus who knows whatever else. Now, I know that our guest has done tons of podcasts. He's done it with this one and that one, even promoters. But we do things here a little differently on Sportswire Radio because we're in prime time. We have almost 1,500 subscribers. We just had a clip on Facebook hit nearly 13,000 views. So I do things a little differently on this platform because I see my chat's waiting for it. And I'm going to give you an introduction. And on top of that, I'm going to give you something here later on Sportswire Radio that I guarantee you nobody else has given you. But in the meantime, we're going to close the weekend out, maybe even start the weekend off here in style by giving you an introduction of a lifetime. And I guarantee you, when the Wrestling Warzone returns on Saturday, you ain't going to get this kind of introduction. So let's get this show on the road here in style on Sportswire Radio, the number one global radio station. So we're done! Without further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one global sports show. A man that is back-to-back years in the PWI 500. A man that has wrestled on AEW's Collision. A man that has wrestled multiple times in GCW. A man that sent Alex Shelley to the WWE, a man that sent Speedball Mike Bailey to AEW, and a man that very well may wrest away that Wrestling Warzone Championship from Vito Fratelli. His name is simply put the Alpha My friend, how are we doing?
I'm I'm doing all right. Are you okay? Can you breathe? Do you need a
I do this every day at this point, and then only today I only knocked on doors and for 3+ hours and came in here. No, I'm kind of like the Ultimate Warrior at this point. I could just run out there and just do an intro like this and run through a wall. And some people even told me this, but I gotta do these intros because in case you may or may not know, Rhino said he never saw anything like it or heard anything like it. Savio Vega said the same thing. Then I just had on Doug Pinnick from King's X, the frontman and bassist, who only played at Woodstock in his opening for the band Tool this Friday, and said he's never heard anything from it, and he gave me advice. So for you, with your resume, which is about just as good as those individuals, I gotta give you that introduction, or otherwise I'm going to hear it from Daryl Johnson, a man you and I both know very well. So, I mean, if I don't give you that introduction, then I should probably be off this platform. But I hope you're doing well, and great to meet you finally.
Hey, yeah, I'm doing great. It's great to meet you too. I was just making sure you was good. It was a whole
No. Well, I will tell you, I will have one story for you. We were talking about this off the air, and I started in wrestling, doing British wrestling, and I had a general manager on for a company, Coming Out Championship Wrestling there in the UK, and I was doing the intro, and I clutched my chest, and I'm like, oops, but I kind of gulped, and then it was like, I was all right. But that was the only time I've had a problem in doing this. But otherwise, I'm great, and it's an absolute honor to meet you. And what a resume! It's always great on Sportswire Radio when we get a chance to speak with people like yourself that have been there, who've been there, and gone to these places. We get a lot of different wrestlers in the underground, the independent scene, people that have been in the backyard, people that want to be in places like you have. And I have to start, though, in the current events. I have to start in the reason why I'm here with you tonight. And that's for those that are listening and watching in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform that you, Darrow Johnson, and the Wrestling Warzone most certainly helped build, Sportswire Radio. You have a match, as I stated, a battle of the PWI 500s. Yourself and Vito Fratelli for that Wrestling Warzone Championship this Saturday, the Alpha Zo. Tell us what we can expect.
Definitely a hard-hitting match. But at the same time, I'm a little bit more strategic now. If I aim for something, I'm going to keep attacking it. I've been basically changing up my style just a tad bit, depending on the situation or the person. Vito is obviously a vet, but I think I have a little bit more quickness than him and maybe a little bit more strength. But we'll find out, at Wrestling Warzone, but at the same time, I got to stay on my P's and Q's because at any moment he can just switch up the story on me. So it's our first time ever in the ring with each other. I've only met the man once, and that was at Oasis at one of the.
Yeah, he's been at Oasis because it's come up here before in the past on Sportswire. He's been here a few times, and Oasis definitely came up for sure.
Yeah, so that's the first time I met him, and this is going to be the second time me and him are going to share a locker room together, but now we're sharing as enemies at this point. So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you, though, even though you know Vito, I know you've wrestled some really big names, but Vito, you haven't wrestled. So how do you prepare for somebody that you know, but you don't really know? I'm so fascinated with that.
Well, how I go about every match that I do is I prepare for any and all situations. So no matter what I'm doing, no matter who my opponent is, everybody sort of kind of gets the same treatment from me. But once I see something that I know that I can capitalize on, I go straight for it. So, I mean, I practice my striking game every day, my grappling every
Oh,
day.
you're gonna need it for Vito. I mean, you definitely have seen Vito in the flesh and wound. I've seen him here on Sportswire only, but you're gonna need some of those skills.
Oh, I definitely am going to have them for just that day, you know. So, being back at Wrestling Warzone is also kind of like, an emotional thing for me because I
Yep.
was on the first Wrestling Warzone back.
And we were talking about this off the air. We were talking about our mutual friend Darrow Johnson, and it's been a minute.
It's been a long time. I remember when he lived out in NorCal and he created Wrestling Warzone. It was, it was something
Yeah,
different. A lot of people were on the show.
I
Uh,
remember.
well, some people like CeeLo was on there,
Yes,
and
I've had CeeLo on here. Yes, CeeLo.
yeah. So just being back, me and Fresh, who's my tag partner now, we were enemies at the first ever Wrestling Warzone. Um, it's just full circle for us to just all meet back up and do this show together. But at the end of the day, I'm aiming to leave WWZ as the new champion.
Yeah, and this is, Vito's had this title for a long time, and even when the Wrestling Warzone was running shows, he held the title, and he has been very impressive, and I'm really so excited about this match because it is a match, and I say it's the first one I've ever covered where it's two guys at the same time that are in the PWI 500. And you think about your careers, yes, ring wise, it's different, but I feel like there's a lot of similarities in who you've wrestled, the types of names, the resume. I mean, in some ways, you guys are different, but your careers have kind of paralleled in a sense. Do you feel the same way? Because that's kind of, in following Vito, because I know Vito very well, and knowing you, I've known you here and there. I've known you because of the War Zone, so your name's definitely come up. But I kind of feel like your careers have paralleled in the success. What's your thoughts on some of that?
I mean, I feel like, yeah, there's some similarities and some things are parallel, yes. But at the same time, with him having a longer tenure than me, um, he's obviously probably done a whole lot than what I know. So at the same time, yes, I'm 31, traveled to Japan, wrestled for Marvelous, Pro Wrestling Noah,
Yeah.
been on West Coast Pro, wrestled Brian Keith, Speedball Mike
We
Bailey.
mentioned you. Listen, you're the reason you sent Alex Shelley packing. You were one of his last shows. You were one of his last matches before he went to WWE. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's the truth. I think Darrow even mentioned that to me. I'm almost certain he did.
I believe I was either his last or
Or
second.
second to last. It was something was
It
very
was
close.
yeah, it was one of the two, but I remember that match being very emotional because he put everybody over on West Coast Pro. West Coast Pro has a lot of
Yep.
talent there, and he said,
TJ Perkins has been there. I know. We had a lot of WWE X's been there in the company for sure.
yeah. So at the same time, it's just like, yeah. I've been on a couple people's last few matches, but you know, anything is possible. Vito can one up me at any point in time, or I can one up him. We just gotta figure each other out. I think if I keep my mind going and going and going, I can get one up on him and become the new champ. That's my goal. My goal is just to make sure that he realizes that he has to take me seriously. If he doesn't,
Oh, listen, Vito, he definitely listen. He's gonna say forget about it, and he's gonna joke around with that. But no, your name he's taken seriously because of your resume. He's gonna definitely pay attention to you. I mean, you've done some really big things. Yeah, okay. Have you maybe not wrestled as many times as him? I'm sure the statistics might agree with you on that, but you've been to Noah. You've wrestled in GCW. You were on this little company called AEW. Even if it was for a couple of minutes in the ring, you were on AEW TV. So there's no question that Vito is paying attention. He's paying attention tonight, and he's most certainly going to be laser focused coming up Saturday. because I've had him on and I've seen the Wrestling Warzone Championship right in front of me. I never forget. Vito was here a few years ago and he laid out like this money he had received from Mexico, whatever it was. You know, they give you money, and then he had like all these championship belts, and it was the
Mm.
Wrestling Warzone title was there with it. So no, Vito is definitely paying attention to this, and he's paying attention to you, and he's not taking you lightly by a long shot.
All right, good, because I mean, I got a couple myself.
I've seen you've
Right?
had 3 or 4 at one. I've seen.
Yeah, I got the Fighting Spirit
Yep.
heavyweight chip. That's one. Somehow these were actually right here. I was cleaning up my card. I got the BTW tag team
Yes.
champion. It's me and Fresh, who is also
Yep.
on WWZ. We hold these together.
Yes, and you guys are in action this coming Sunday, I believe, right after the show coming up here. But we'll talk about that next.
Yep. And then I got the Accord right here for Imagine Pro.
Yes.
I can cash this in at any moment to get a heavyweight title shot.
You know, it's funny you showing this when I get some wrestlers on here that have like the WWE replica belts on here. No, you're the real thing, not to take any shots. I just think but that's what Vito did. Vito did the same thing here. Vito showed his bed. It had all these houses. So, you're going to go into this not at all phased by Vito. You're not going to be intimidated by him. This is why I'm really excited about this match. And I have to ask you this question. I know you've done this and that. You've held championship after championship. And yes, we'll talk about some of the names you've wrestled. I'll put it up on the screen. But what would it mean to you to be the Wrestling Warzone heavyweight champion, Alphazo? What would that mean to you?
Crazy enough, it'll mean a lot to me, a whole lot more than what most people would think, because I was there when Wrestling Warzone was born. I was there when it was first created. I was one of the first people on the show. I was there to help with every little thing. I was getting the waters, help set up the ring, set up the chairs. I've done it all. I did the pay my dues stuff for just this company because I wanted to help my friend. Because I make sure this show, this promotion became something. So if I certainly become Wrestling Warzone champion, then it's just literally a big full circle thing, like completely. Like Daro knows he can always count on me to defend the title whenever I need to, even if it's not even at the show. I can most likely do it all, at another promotion. Have my tag partner there to witness it would be great, because me and him were both there for that. So at the end of the day, it'll mean a whole lot. So I'm going to be giving it my all to try to take this title, like, from anybody, everybody. Vito, you're just holding it for me right now, but like, sadly to say, you're just a replacement. I'm going to be there to take it, and there's nothing you can do about it.
But that's, I think, important what you said, because it's not just a title in the independent scene. It's not just something you travel with. Yeah, it's an honor to be a champion, but because of the history in your career, your journey, you're talking about now going on to 10 years in your career, you've been at this. And Darrow's one of those people that, he supported you. He gave you an opportunity to represent the company, especially now in this resurgence. The company's returning for its first show in a couple of years. And I think it would mean more to you than anyone else that would have got the crack at Vito. Or maybe even, as crazy as it sounds, it might mean more to you to win this Saturday than Vito. Because like I said, Vito's got championship after championship. He's been in Mexico here, Mexico there. To you, because of that personal touch and where you are in your career and where you were, this might mean more to you to win this Saturday than Vito.
Exactly. I mean, Vito has more to lose than I do. I have nothing to lose. What is he really fighting for?
Nothing. He's a champ already. He's held the title. It's a big thing we talk about on Sportzwire. I get wrestlers from all over the place. Right? We're talking about it. I've had Rhino, Savio Vega, James Fury, Skrilla, who just wrestled Lexus King. Speaking of guys that kind of like yourself almost, and then we have guys in the UK, independent wrestlers. And the toughest thing to do is to be the champion, not the chaser. You're the chaser. Vito's the champion. He's got all the pressure because really If he loses it all. I mean, you're playing with house money. Listen, you're happy where you are. You're happy to be here. You think about WWZ coming back, but Vito's the one. He loses. Everybody magnifies it and looks at Vito and says, "Hey, Vito, you couldn't beat Alpha Zoe. I thought you were this guy that was going here and there."
Hey, man, it's true. But taking a loss for me isn't like I wouldn't say it's a bad thing.
Oh, listen, you beat Alex Shelley, Speedball, Mike Bailey. I mean, no, I mean, obviously, yeah, I'm going to tell you that to the rest of your life. I mean, if you had it, if you weren't remembering it, you'll remember it all day on Sportswire. But no, I think that in terms of just he's the champion, right? So it's always tougher, I always feel, to be the incumbent, because when you're the incumbent, it's like anything else. And you know this, you've been a champion, several times over in your own career. You're dealing with people coming after you. But
Oh,
with you, I just think it's so different in this match because of the history here, what this company means to you. That's why I think it might touch a little different than any other match out there. And this is why I'm really excited about this being Wrestling Warzone's main event in return.
oh yeah. It's definitely going to hit home. At the end of the day, this, as I said, full circle back home. One of the first promotions I really worked, outside of my home promotion and a couple other places. So, you know, God willing, I do become champion and I can celebrate with everybody, Daro, Fresh, shit, the locker room, and then
Yeah,
tell
Vito's not celebrating with the locker room if he wins. I know Vito. He's not celebrating.
well, if that's the case, I'm celebrating with the locker room because at the end of the day, I'm not just a champion for the people. I'm a champion for everybody in the locker room. If they need somebody to believe in, it's definitely me. So I'm gonna have
Love
that
it.
stride. Be like, I will carry this company on my back, but I'm also gonna make sure everybody else, is comfortable where they're at, and we all can thrive together. Feel me?
Well, love it. I
If Vito
definitely
gonna
will.
leave, go on right ahead, brother.
Well, I do want to say a couple things here first. I know there's people here in the chat. I'll let them say hello to you. But Instagram, you got to follow the Alpha Zone. You got to hit the follow button for him. I see some of my friends already follow you. I just realized the mutual follows, but add a follow to him. I'm telling you, he's got a lot of places he's going to be going to. We're going to talk about them here. So please support him. Support the Wrestling Wars. And I'm actually a moderator in the group on Facebook. So go out there and please go out and support the group. Daryl's done a fantastic job, and I'm really happy for Daryl because this is a couple of years in the making, and it's good to see the Wrestling War Zone come back. Daryl's been telling me for like 2 years it was going to come back. He's like, I'm telling you, it's going to come back. And I'm like, don't worry, we're going to cover it on Sportswire. We finally had the day, and when he announced it about a month ago, and we're very honored to have on here Mr. Alpha Zoe himself. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally where all wrestling matters. And if you're here on Sportswire Radio, like, share, and follow us on YouTube. I would appreciate it. I want to ask you this question because I ask wrestlers this all the time on Sportswire, and especially someone like yourself. I know you've done so many big things, but what are your goals for 2025? Do you have any goals for this year?
My goal for 2025.
Yeah.
Well, being that I'm 31 now, I would like to keep this stride of busyness going. I got a whole month of wrestling that I got to do for basically March now, so that's great.
Nice.
I'm still waiting for certain match cards to be revealed at the moment, but
Yeah, don't do. Yeah, this platform, considering who I've had on it, if you can't reveal it, please don't reveal it.
yeah, I'm not gonna reveal anything. Trust me. I just know it's gonna be a busy time. Really, it's just keep pushing, keep grinding. Also help my students out. I'm also a coach at Oasis Pro. I want to make sure all of them are ready to have their first matches probably in the next like 6 months now.
Nice.
Believe that's when they'll be ready. I also just want to always hit that goal of I want to get signed. Obviously, that's always the end goal for every wrestler. But we just got to keep pushing ourselves, marketing ourselves. So I'm trying to get better and better at my marketing skills.
Well, you're in the right place, because I feel like because I know exactly where you're going with this because I kind of feel like in some ways like where you are because I'm doing this 6 years and I can remember Skype is closing on May 1st, and I started doing this on Skype. And the
Ah,
last couple of months, as I mentioned, some of the names that have come on here, and I know the grind, I know the journey, I understand it well, and you feel like you're getting close. And speaking of that, I had a guy on Skrilla who I mentioned also that wrestled recently, Lexus, Brian Pillman Jr., Alexis King, and has wrestled also the likes of James Storm, and it's a whole bunch of other names. And the reason I bring him up because of this WWE ID program, and you're one of those guys, I'm sure, that is a candidate for that. You're in the PWI 500 back-to-back years. You've wrestled on AEW Collision. I mentioned Alex Shelley, so obviously the man a little bit. Speedball, Mike Bailey, Impact, AEW. I mean, Lee Moriarty, you've been in there with. So you've been in there with some names. And I asked Skrilla this question when he was here like a month or so ago. Does the WWE ID program, does that feel like that's tailor-made for the Alpha or what?
quite frankly, if I'm gonna be honest,
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't
What do
know.
you mean? Why?
Like, for me personally, like, yeah, like I'm happy with everybody that got ID'd. Because some of them are my friends, and I'm happy for them. I want them to make it to where they want to make it to, but it just, I don't know, something about it doesn't doesn't really like catch my attention. It's just like, okay, cool. Like, WWE is basically in the indies now. That's great. I love it. I appreciate that for everybody that's working hard.
Mhm.
But I'm already at this point in my life where I'm just like, all right, well, I kind of need that contract. Like, I need a full blown contract.
You want the security of it to say, hey, you know what? I want it to be secure. I don't want to have to fight for it. I understand where you're
Well,
coming from in that sense.
it's still fighting for it, but in the sense of I want to earn it the way that I've seen a lot of people earned it. Like um Cedric Alexander,
Yep.
he earned his contract.
Had a long career in WWE too. A very
Yeah.
long career in WWE.
Shelton Benjamin, all the people that I looked up to earned their contract just by working hard, doing what they need to,
Sure.
and was just secure. Boom, right there. I'm, as I said, I'm not getting any younger. So,
Yeah.
and I know like Kylie Ray, I believe she's older than me, but she's been doing great regardless of what she, her being ID'd. She's been doing great. She's living, she's doing her thing. But I would like to have just a full blown contract. Just I don't want to be like, okay, you're ID'd. Now you got to do this and that and the third. Okay, I got to do this and that and the third. I'm already doing that though. So I would kind of just be like, if I get ID'd, cool, happy. I'm gonna still work hard. Don't get me wrong. I'm still gonna push and grind as much as I can. But then you still never know if you're really gonna get chosen.
Sure, and and when I asked Skrilla this question because he wrestled, it's funny as he in the matches he had, he wrestles, Brian Pillman Jr. and he's wrestling him while he's signed to WWE. It was really a unique situation. He was wrestling a show while he was on NXT, so he's wrestling these guys. And I asked Skrilla the same question. He was like, "Well, Tom." He basically said, I kind of almost had to take a step back. I had to almost take a break because he felt like he was seeing these people he was wrestling, the James Storms, Colby Carino he's in the ring with, and they're getting the breaks. And it made him almost reevaluate who he was, and he had to take a step back to get back up there. So it's kind of fascinating that you had sort of a slightly different response in the sense that, yeah, you definitely know that you're a candidate. You definitely know that you could make it. You've got the resume, probably a stronger resume, admittedly, than Skrilla's. No disrespect to Skrilla. He's somebody I know through a personal context similar to you, but you have had the places to go outside of this country and being on TV such as AEW's that it makes you say, you know what? I want what Cedric Alexander had. I want what Shelton Benjamin had. And, why settle I can keep doing what I'm doing, and if it works out, it works out. It's kind of, I think a very interesting response that you had.
Well, that's just because I, before the whole ID thing, it was just like wrestle your ass off, show people you can work, do this and that, and you know, get noticed, do some, be different. And I'm like, yeah, I can be completely different. I am different. My style is different. I would quite say, like, yes,
Yep.
hard hitting. People like to call it strong. I don't call it strong style. I just call it my style.
You
Yeah,
should be only yourself. I tell people all the time that come on here, the only style you should be is your own. Anybody else they did it already. You have to walk your own path.
yeah, and I like to be technical in the ring when I need to be. I've showed people that I can chain wrestle, I can strike, I can do it all. So it's just I just got to keep going and going and going. But I as I said, I have friends that's ID'd. Jack Cartwell,
Yep.
that's my homeboy. I actually was around when he first started wrestling. I was around him. He was out there in SAC at SPW, Supreme Pro Wrestling, and I helped him out, gave him some advice, and he blew up, and I'm happy for him. Zara, that's like my
Yeah.
that's my little sister. That like me and her, like when me and her talk, it's older brother, little sister. Like
Nice.
she asks me questions, I give her answers, and look at her, she's blown the fuck up,
Sure.
and I'm proud of her. Ice Williams, that's my
Yep.
boy. If I'm in Vegas, I'm hanging out with him. I'm chilling. We talk about stuff. We talk about, wrestling. And then I just wrestled him not too long ago. I think
Yep.
like 2 months ago. Yeah, I wrestled him
Yeah, I
2 months.
think so. I think so.
Yeah. So it's just I'm happy for my people. But is being ID'd for everybody? Probably not. Uh,
No, it's an interesting thing as we're here with Alpha Zoe, who's going to be in action back to back times coming up here this next weekend. We'll talk about that here. Plus, the 15th of March, he'll be in action. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryson. Please support the Alpha Zoe also on Instagram by giving him a follow. I'm going to put up some other things up here. So, listen, it's everybody's got, their own. Like I said, when I asked Skrilla that question, and it was, a different take, but I think your resume is look, everybody's different. I think Skrilla's answer was different than yours, but I think where you are, it's a different perspective. So I think it's always good for that. I want to ask you one more question and kind of directed toward wrestlers. And I want to promote the 9th, which is next Sunday. And I want to promote the 15th because I will get a lot of wrestlers, I'm sure, that'll pop in and out of the chat. If you had advice for any wrestler, I get a lot of up and coming wrestlers that come on here. I get a lot of guys in the underground, independents, different places. Like, what advice would you give to any wrestlers?
Probably the same advice I give my students. Work on the basics. The basics get you further than the complicated stuff. Learn how to lock up properly, learn how to chain properly, learn how to hit the ropes properly, learn how to bump properly, how to get up from a bump properly. Just really that, like get comfortable with all that. Learn how to do a body slam and a suplex. Don't worry about trying to do 450 splashes. Don't worry about how to dive out. If you can work a match and just sell and do all like the regular like heat take
Hmm.
heat, you'll be perfectly fine. Everybody wants to go balls to the wall nowadays and damn near kill themselves.
You know
And
what's funny? You said that. There was a term. My dad taught the drums, and his line always was "kiss," meaning "keep it simple, stupid." And in kind of in a way, what he meant was that don't play like a crazy note. Don't just want to bang the drums. Or he talk about like when I played the bass guitar, he'd say don't try to be something else. Just try to play within the song. And I think it's kind of, and again, I'm not a wrestler, but I'm trying to equate it to music because we do music on Sportswire now also. But
yeah,
it's kind of the same thing. Whereas don't go out and hit a frog splash or do a Frankensteiner for the heck of it or a moonsault. It doesn't have to always be. Do what's within the framework. So that way you make everybody look good at the same time. So keep it simple. I mean, in the long run, you might actually, prolong your career if that makes sense.
yeah, exactly. And just follow what your trainers tell you to do. That's really it. Like I had to practice throwing the forearm for about a month, and I was
Right.
forming a metal post, for a month. until I knew, I was able to forearm properly, and now I can throw a forearm without even looking at somebody. So it's just the little
It's
things matter.
repetition. It reminds me when I played basketball as a kid. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and my dad would call me from his job, and he would say he bought me a basketball one year, and it was named double basketball. I don't know why I remembered it, but he asked me that whole summer. He said, "Did you dribble the basketball?" And I would say yes. He would call me. He would specifically call me. Did you practice? The reason he did that, not because I was going to make the NBA, but because of practice. It was repetition. So that lesson was that if I had approached that with the way I do anything else, like whether it's here, whatever it is, it's the same thing what you're telling your students. You practice your suplexes, your chain wrestling, your forearms, your punches, whatever it is, learning how to properly fall, whatever it is in the ring safely, you have to have practice, repetition. And that's, I think that's also a model for anything in life. I think that if you go out and apply yourself and keep doing it, you'll eventually get the hang of it. And that's why, we're honored to have you here. Let me say hello to a few people. My friend President Zaddy here, who's back, who drew an image of me on YouTube, who says salute. We have a lot of interesting people that come on my platform. My buddy Luke Leyland, who's actually being trained again. He was a wrestler years ago and is now attempting a comeback. He's
Okay.
doing so. Yep. He was trained by a guy, Dean Allmark, a friend of mine, sort of, a man who trained him. But Dean Allmark, TNA, Japan. Yeah, you probably have heard the name. And
Legend.
he's up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I have no idea why, but I told him you were pretty good. He's very thankful for Sportswire. Zilla's a big fan. Would like to say hello. My buddy Ox McCoy, who definitely, let's just say, has had some problems with fans in the ring and should have killed one, but he didn't because he was a gentleman. Because a fan basically, he had a match. I hope this doesn't happen to you with you and Fratelli, knowing what you two do. So he had a match, and somebody tried to basically break up the pin. Some
Oh,
fan just randomly was. So I'm sure if that happens to you and Vito, I'm sure you and Vito would probably launch this guy out of the building somewhere. But this gentleman was so kind, even though he doesn't look so kind. He was kind enough that he didn't, throw the guy like 50 stories out of the building. But he does say hello. He's a good friend of mine. He's kinder than he looks, and we say hello to him and follow you on Instagram. So, all right. So let's promote some other things. You have some other places to go. I hate to talk about them, and I need to give you something. So let's do that here first. So you're in action coming up now next Sunday, and talk about that here for Oasis. We just spoke about that here with Cornerstone,
mhm.
and it's the Bay versus the World. And tell us what we can look forward to here.
So Babe versus the World, it's always a gigantic like showing for everybody in Northern California and some SoCal talent. The last Babe versus the World, it was me, Jack Cartwheel, and Speedball Mike Bailey
Yes,
versus
I did see that. I did see that.
versus SPS, who is and was, but still is because Journey Fatu,
Yes.
Big Juicy, and Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, I actually know somebody who wrestled Jacob. Actually, do you know Tarzan Duran?
Yeah, he was there. He
Yep,
actually was
I
on that.
knew that because I had a feeling. I'm like, you'd know Tarzan. I'm not going to ask you on the air what Tarzan's like, though. Let's just leave it at that.
He's chill. He's all
Yeah,
right.
he's an interesting guy. Let's just say
Yeah,
that he's interesting. He was
yeah,
playing the guitar here on Sportswire. He was playing guitar, and he was, he just came out of the pool. Tarzan's a fantastic wrestler. He's just different. He's just a
yeah.
different cat.
That different. That's what you got
Yeah,
to.
I,
But
I like him. I like him a lot. He's just different.
hey, it be like that, man. I like. Trust
Pretty
me.
much.
But yeah, Bay versus the World, March 9th, the day after WWZ, So I
Mhm.
got to fly out to San Diego, then I got to fly back into the Bay Area to wrestle one more time in the 6-man tag. Me and Deidre Fresh, and Starboy Charlie versus Beatrice Domino, Cliff Hendricks, and Santo Demira. So for this match right here in particular, this is a match with me and my tag partner and my friend Starboy Charlie, who
Yep.
we all three of us, we've grown together out here in NorCal. Um, 'Cause, we're wrestling actually my students,
Oh
Beatrice,
wow.
yes, and Santo Demira. They're both my students. Cliff Hendricks has trained with me and Fresh for a
Yeah,
very
I know. I know Cliff. I know Cliff.
Oh, you know Cliff?
I heard the name. It's definitely come up. It's come up before.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's they have a little stable. They call it the Melanin Mafia. Um they are basically bullies. They like to just attack people for no apparent reason. They injured one of my other students, Gaio. They broke his beak because he's a chicken, so they broke his beak.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a wrestler in the UK that I've actually we know called Bat Pigeon. So ironically, he's a pigeon and you got a chicken.
yeah, Gaio is such a beautiful soul, but he
Yeah.
kept getting attacked by them. I think it was what 2 months ago or a month.
Mhm.
It was 2 months ago. Cliff was having a match with Starboy Charlie. The rest of the mafia got involved, so I ran out and started beating up Domino and Sancho while they were on the outside. I think on one of the clips that's on my Instagram, you can definitely see me deck Sancho and he went flying. So he had it coming. They all had it coming. So, I just had enough of their BS. So at the end of the day, me and my tag partner, he's my ride or die. So whatever debauchery I get in, he's going to get in. Starboy's just joining along for the ride. He's here to help, and I'm happy that he's going to help. But we're going to end this whole thing right now. They're going to learn the lesson that no matter what you do, you're not going to get the respect by doing things the bad way. Like if you're going to keep
Yeah.
disrespectful, you're not
You
going to
got to
be.
go on the straight and narrow. Straight
Yeah.
and narrow.
So
Yeah.
got to straighten them out real quick. Gotta beat up my students. Got to beat up Cliff. Um, and you know what? I'm a thicken the story. Beatrice
Oh.
Domino was my cousin. So
Well, this is really getting personal, boy. I mean, it's gonna be somebody's gonna be upset no matter what.
oh yeah, nah. Domino, she's very hard headed. She's riding with the wrong crowd. So, I gotta fix her straight too, man. It's quite insane. But this show is gonna be quite crazy. We're gonna also be crowning our first ever champion at Oasis. There's a ladder match that's gonna happen
Yep.
there. Vinny Massaro, Brett the Threat,
Yes.
Joe Parisi, Fatal. Oh shit, I'm missing like two more people. Oh, Kenny K.
I'll pull up the I have the flyer. I'll pull it
Yeah,
up and I'll take this off and we'll do the line change here while you do that.
yeah.
Pull up
Kenny
the poster, but
K. And there's one more person. I know there's one more person. I've been so up on my match. So I all
yeah,
the
I've got the poster. I actually have the poster for you. So
yeah.
yeah, because I knew this would come up. So actually, that's why we do things the way they are. But you got obviously here for the Pacific Seas Championship, Kenny K,
Oh,
Sonico, Vinny
Sonico.
Massaro. Yep,
There,
Fatal and Parisi. Yep.
there we go, Sonico.
See?
So we're gonna crown our first champion at Oasis. Oasis has been around for about 3 years, 2 or 3
Yeah,
years now.
Oasis came up when Vito was here. It definitely come up before. Oasis is come up here on Sportswire in the
Yeah,
past for sure.
because he had wrestled Vinny, which they're
Yeah.
basically
Yep.
fucking twins.
I know. I think I might have played the match on Sportswire. I'd have to go back, but I do remember Oasis coming up here for sure. Vito, and forget about it. He did the usual Vito line.
Yeah, so we got that going on. We got a battle royal for all the young up and coming talents that's around NorCal,
Yep.
Vegas, Arizona, shit, wherever. Like
So
we
how about
got
Super
super
Crazy and a man you've
excited.
wrestled many times, Titus Alexander. I mean, you've had quite a history with him, and Super Crazy being here. Man, that's when I saw this a couple weeks ago that he was going to show up. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, I remember him very well in ECW, the original ECW, and he's still going. I mean, that's pretty cool to
Oh
see
yeah,
at this match.
super crazy. He gonna wrestle forever.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. That just, it's like Stud Bronson. Who we talked about at my intro. Wrestled
Yeah,
Savio Vega. Savio just wrestled Matt Riddle right before he wrestles Bronson. Had a match with Matt Riddle, and he's just keeps going. And Savio was here on Sportswire, and he looked, except for maybe like his goatee and being a little gray, whitish gray,
yeah.
he looks the same. These guys just don't age. Some of them.
Hey, sometimes when you work out and you just keep things going, you never look like you're gonna age. Look at John Cena. The only thing that looks like he is aging is his hair. That's it.
Well, I think Billy Gunn. I mean, Billy Gunn. Speaking of AEW, I mean, Billy Gunn looks like he's better looking now than he was, 25 years ago. You just don't know, and but that's you got a lot of great matches here at Oasis, and we want people to go out there and follow on Instagram Oasis_CW. It's
Mm.
going to be the Bay versus the World. It's going to take place Sunday, March 9th. It's going to take place at Cornerstone in Berkeley. The doors open 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.
And it
YouTube,
will be streaming
Berkeley
on
Public TV.
YouTube. It will be
What?
streaming on YouTube as
Yep.
well. Yep. So if y'all want to catch the action, please go on YouTube. At Oasis Pro, you'll get to see all the action. You get to see me beat up my students and my cousins. So
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're definitely excited about that. Food and alcohol are available for purchase. Link is in the bio, which is Oasis_CW. Make sure you support them. Obviously, we're very honored to have on here the one and only Alpha Zoe. And let's talk about your next show here because I got to promote them all in one shot. You have a show on the 15th. Like you said, you're a very busy man. I have that, and I saw that on YouTube, by the way. You and Slice Boogie, because he cut a promo on you that actually I watched it, and I want to get your reactions to what's ahead here coming up on the 15th. And we're going to see you at Epic Pro, Meanest of Times. And what can we expect here? Because this tells me that you are going to have a lot to handle with when it comes to Mr. Slice Boogie.
so me and Slice go back, way
Yep.
back.
He talks about that in his promo. Yep.
We go way back. Me and him, we were both young pups. I don't know how he didn't think I wasn't a young pup myself, but I was a young pup when me and him actually wrestled each other at West Coast Pro. Um, it literally was our first one-on-one match. It was probably one of my first times in a long time wrestling in a singles match. And I I outsmarted him. I won. He was mad aggressive during the match and got overly aggressive, and I reversed out and knocked him out. I it just sounds like he's bitter at the end of the day. Slice is most likely bitter. Every time he said something during that promo, I was like, he is very bitter. Why isn't Japan knocking at your door? Bro, I don't know. Maybe, you need to learn Japanese and then they'll come knocking at your door. Uh, Bruh, like at the end of the day, our success is going to be completely different. But if you're just going to be mad and bitter, then I'm just going to knock some sense into you again. But don't worry. I have to cut my promo later. So
Yeah, that's why I'll let you save that for that. But I did at the very least wanted to promote this because it's coming right up in March. It's
yep.
here. It's funny. I was like just yesterday. It felt like the year was ending in 2024. Now we're going into spring, and you're a busy man, and that's exciting, right? To be wrestling as much as you are this month coming up. I think that's what the goal of as I said, last night when I introduced you the first time. I was like, you're the definition of a pro wrestler. I was like, some people come on here and they're what's called weekend warriors. Maybe they wrestle once a month or twice a month, and nothing wrong
Uh,
with that. But you're the definition of like a professional wrestler. That's why I was really excited about this. And you must be just as excited to be wrestling 3 times here coming up in a span of 13 days.
yeah, and then I have to also wrestle on a Tuesday soon, actually. So, and that's going to be at Fighting Spirit Pro. I got to defend my heavyweight title. Um, I got to do a promo on that, so you'll see that on my social media pretty soon. So
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking
yeah,
forward
so
to that.
yeah, so I'm wrestling on weekdays, weekends. I got a lot of things planned out for most of the year. I have a goal to go back to Japan and work out there
What
again.
was it like? I had Dean Olmark on, and Dean had talked to you about his experience in wrestling in Japan, but that was a while ago. So you've been there, obviously much more recent. But how did you enjoy wrestling in Japan?
Wrestling in Japan was fun. The crowd is completely different. As I said, like
Yeah,
the crowd here in America, they're always just hyped. They're
yeah,
ecstatic. They go crazy. In Japan, they treat it like it's a sport, and that's what I love so
it
much.
is. It
I
is.
love when People treat wrestling as a sport. Like when something's going down, they're not making no noise. They're paying attention to it attentively, like very like attentively. And then when something hits, oh yes, we like that. Love it. I love it. And just learning that way of working like a crowd, or getting Japanese fans. I had a few of them actually hit me up saying we want you to come back to Japan. I was just like, we'll see. I'm working on it, but we will see. That's a shot in the dark right there.
Is
Uh,
that an adjustment though to wrestle in Japan and then come back and do like these indie shots? Does that, because again it's a different style and it's a different atmosphere. Is that an adjustment or a transition you have to make because you're in a different environment to wrestle, or what's your thoughts on that?
it was more of learning how the Japanese style works, and then once you understand it, you bring it back and you basically use it here in America. The transition happened pretty quick. Once I got to understand it, because I loved watching like New Japan and Noah, like early Noah. Like I watched it religiously.
Yeah, Dean, when he was here, talked a lot about that. He would go and like in the UK, I think well, this is, I mean, he's older. You're talking about a guy who's 42, so you're talking about a 10-year age difference on you. Plus,
Yeah,
he would go and watch old tapes of them. He would study. He was a tape studier, and he would just go and watch the old, like you said, early Noah, and that's prepared him to go there and such.
yeah, and that's what it did for me. Watching it for so long, I was like, oh, so this is how I'm supposed to do this and that. And I was like, okay, well, let me try to just incorporate it into my style, and it fits. I still do it out here. It hasn't changed since I came back from Japan. My
Nice.
style has been exactly how it is in Japan, how it is out here. Tag matches too. They all run accordingly. It's just the build up in Japanese wrestling gets the crowd going insane. So the pacing, it's all about pacing. If you got that pacing down, oh, you're golden. You're golden.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're definitely golden right now with the one and only Alpha Zoe himself. He is going to be in action a number of different times here. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters. We're going to be here for a little while longer with Mr. Zoe. He is a very busy man coming up. You can check him out on Instagram also. Please go out there and follow him. Please support our friends over in the Wrestling Wars. I want to thank Darrow Johnson one more time for this opportunity. Darrow has been a big supporter of mine, and I'm forever grateful for Darrow's support and linking me with another great guest here. Speaking of things that are great, I want to give you something before I do want to show your match with Alex Shelley, but I actually want to give you something. You do these podcasts all the time, and I know people want your time and they want you to do this or do that, but I, for a change, want to give you something. So I'm going to present this on my screen here because congratulations, it is Alpha Zoe Day on all Sportswire radio platforms. I will give you the physical copy when we're off the air, and congratulations. And I wanted to do something different for you.
That's great.
I wanted you to have it. I know you probably chuckle, but it's kind of my thing. I like to give people that come on the show something. So it's a certificate. It's recognizes all my platforms on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, X, sportswireradio.org, Tumblr, and Facebook, and all other platforms and places. I'm even on LinkedIn. Yes, my LinkedIn account. And I wanted you to have something because seriously, I thank you so much for all that you do for our sport. You representing it, putting your blood, sweat, and tears out there. There's a line that I always use, and that the true wrestlers go out there and put their blood, sweat, and tears out there. And you're one of those definitions for that. So thank you for all that you do
Thank
for our sport. And it means a lot to me, at least personally, because, like you talked about your grind, and I've, literally grinded for every single subscriber that I have and every single view. And, it's people like you that really make this sport what it is. So I am forever grateful for everything that you've done and for us, and obviously Darrow as well. But I want you to have this, and I'll give it to you when we're off the physical copy. But I did,
you.
in the interest of time, I do want to play the match with you and Mr. Shelley because I actually have it, and I wanted to ask, your reactions on it, and because obviously it's a pretty big deal to have wrestled somebody that right after he goes to WWE, and I have it up here, so I'll go like this, go like that, and just I mean, what made the match the way it was, and I mean, obviously, this is literally just days, before he debuts on SmackDown. It must have been like, I don't know, a month or so right after, if I recall correctly. But I mean, just what are your memories of this match?
Um, it's gonna get a little emotional. What I remember about this match, this day in particular, actually, this particular day was a long day for me.
Oh
Um,
man,
I was, obviously he's wrestling me at my new home promotion. Like West Coast Pro is literally my home. I put all my blood, sweat, and tears for West Coast Pro. No matter what I'm doing, I represent the West Coast as a whole.
sure.
Um, so wrestling Alex Shelley, I had to get ready for any and everything that was technical. Um, right here, I'm put in a reverse figure four. I'm grabbing the rope. I'm out. Cool. In the back of my mind, though, we just had a celebration of life for my late father. So he
My
had.
thoughts and prayers go out to you on that still.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Like literally, he had just passed away like about a month ago. And so we finally did a celebration of life for him. And it was on this day particular. And so even though I wasn't in the right headspace, I literally gave it my all to wrestle Alex and to keep up
Wow.
with him and try to outsmart him the best way I can. And not just by using my mind and trying to just be like, oh, he's going to do this, I'm going to do that. No, I use my strength alongside with it, because at the end of the day I knew I was stronger than him.
Yeah.
So even though he worked my leg, he only worked one leg. Cool. But the moment he took his eyes off the prize, he got laid out with a lariat at the end of the day. So right here, as you can see, we've been jockeying for position for like the past like two
Minute. Yeah,
in,
2 minutes.
this clip. So he got me now. He got me right back into where he wanted me. We're right here, and he's working the shit out of my leg. And all I'm trying to do is fight, 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 fight. And all I could really do at this point was just use my grit. My grit was more important at this point. I wasn't going to give up. I was not going to give up and lose this match. I had everything riding on this match for me to get pushed to the next level into my
Sure.
career. So there was just a lot going on. Like even like when I made my entrance, I had the shirt for the memory of my dad on me when I did my entrance on here. And so it was just a lot. Like I literally cried after my match. I cried before the match, but people didn't realize it because I poured water on my face before I even. So they just thought I just came out sweaty. No, I I was
No,
lit.
you didn't do the Triple H. You didn't do the Triple H thing. No, you didn't do
Yeah,
that. No.
I did not, but I literally cried before and after my match. And Alex told me, like, and I quote, he's like, that's probably one of the toughest things I've heard, because he knows how,
Wow.
he knows it's hard to lose your father figure, like that's tough. But just
I mean,
to,
if Alex Shelley's telling you that, I mean, this is a guy who was a world champion in TNA. He's a guy that's a Hall of Famer, and this is a guy that's, if he's telling you that, that says something, though, Alpha. Champ
yeah.
says a lot.
And he also said, like, usually when people try to wrestle his matches, it's, you know, they do their best. And he's very technical. He likes to tell the
Yep.
story on the technical side. And I hung with him. He told me I hung with him. Even with my headspace, he was just shocked that I did all that all in the span of one day. And I was like, I had to. I was like, my dad literally is one of my biggest supporters when it comes to
You
wrestling.
talked about that, I know, on social media, that your dad really was a big supporter of what you were doing. And maybe, I'm technically a reverend, maybe that you had a higher power that was, helping you, on emotion. Sometimes that happens, if you're a fan of sports, sometimes there's just teams, maybe they don't have the best talent, but they get carried by certain events or certain things that you're unexplainable, and they find a way. And maybe, in this particular match, that's what you had going for you, was that you had those emotions and things that we can't explain. Obviously, you're a tremendous talent. We know that, but in terms of what the circumstances were in the match, you were going through outside of that to be able to put on the match that we're watching now with Alex Shelley. Maybe that's what I would total it up to, if this is and such.
Yeah. It was just, a whole lot. And it did give me that big drive I needed to actually keep up with him, his pace, the way that he wrestles. And I know my dad was watching down on me, proud of me like hell. Because he was there when I wrestled Jeff Cobb. So
Yeah, Jeff, I know was very big to your career. There's no question that I know. I remember that name coming up, in the past. That I definitely remember.
yeah, nah, Jeff Cobb, good friend of mine now. My dad was there. He even posted like, I'm gonna go watch my son wrestle. And that right there was like, it meant a lot to me. And then doing this and the celebration of his life, meant so much more to me than what anybody can imagine. So this match, looking back at it, I'm like, yep, this is exactly, what I asked for. I
You
wanted.
got a big crowd. It's your home promotion. You're wrestling a guy that's days after this goes to WWE, and already on his resume is, been a TNA world champion multiple times, tag team champion, a guy that's, Hall of Famer, really, a
Yeah,
true Hall of Famer. And you're going toe to toe with him and you beat him. I mean, that's like a fantastic accomplishment. I mean, that speaks volumes about, who you are and what you can do.
yeah. It been tested so much by a lot of people, Leo Rush, Speedball, Brian Keith.
Titus Alexander, you've had plenty of matches with Titus Alexander. We
me
showing
me and Titus basically grew up together in this business. I wrestled him since before the dreads. I was
Yes,
still,
that's a while. That's definitely a while.
yeah, like I was fat back then too, so it we wrestled. We're frenemies. I think if I need to call somebody my frenemy, it would be him. So if it comes down to it, yeah, we laugh, we chuckle, we hang out with each other. But if we got to wrestle each other, we're gonna beat the dog shit out of each other at the same time. So I think right here, yeah, I hit the sidewalk? No, I don't. He reverses that. He gets me into his submission again. I think this is the ending of the match. I roll him up
That's
and I hit
funny.
him with the lariat immediately as I get up. It was a last resort. Bow. That was it. And we went home, brother. That was all. That's all she wrote. And
Wow.
the crowd went fucking insane because I worked my ass off just to get that win. And I'm trying to, deep down inside, before I even get signed, if I ever do get signed, I want to become the West Coast Pro Heavyweight Champion. That would be my be all end all for my indie run. Like they've done, West Coast Pro has been such a home to me that I want to be their champion. I want to represent them the best way I can. Even though if I put on these great matches, I would rather put on a great match but be their champion at the same time. So in my head, that's the best way for me to do that.
Well, you never know. I mean, there's obviously, listen, we talked about it with Skrilla, and we've obviously seen you go to Japan, and you were on AEW TV, and so like I said, you're one of these guys that's you're a candidate. Whether you are going to get it or not, or you get a full-time contract, I don't know, but you're definitely, like, I could see it. I mean, the resume speaks for itself. And I did have to ask, being back to back in the PWI 500. I had Vito on 2 years ago, and I asked Vito about being in the PWI 500. As a matter of fact, I asked Rhino about being in the PWI 500. He was number 10, I think it was, in 2001. I actually was the first person to have ever actually asked him his thoughts on the PWI 500. And the PWI 500 is a very personal thing for me, because when I was a kid, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and I was a wrestling fan. I wound up, I would go to a little corner newsstand. It was on here in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, 76th Street and 5th Avenue. With my allowance money, I would buy the PWI 500. And I've been in the PWI 500 the last 2 years. I had asked for Telly what it meant to him to be in the PWI 500. He said that it was something he was thinking about. And I ask you, what did it mean to you these last 2 years to be in the PWI 500? What did that mean to you?
Well, these last 2 years, I'm not gonna lie to you. The first year,
You were 480, and I think you were 405. I think this
mhm,
past year,
I-
right around Fratelli's. I think Fratelli was a little higher than you, but that may change. I think this year if you beat him.
yeah, maybe shit. Uh,
He's gonna kill me for saying that, but you can continue.
my first year being on PWI, I didn't even know I was on it.
Really, you didn't know it? You didn't know?
I didn't know until someone
Did
told
you
me.
think you were gonna like? I know with Vito, when I asked him that question, he was thinking about it. He's like, Tom, yeah, I got the resume and I want to be on it. So when you found, you didn't know you were on it right away. Interesting. You didn't think
I,
you'd be with your resume, with what you've done. You didn't think that they would put you on the list.
not 2 years ago, my first time being on it, I did not know I was on it. I didn't know until I got told, and I was like, I'm on it.
Wow.
And then I was like, wow, because I wasn't. My goal was like at that point in time was just to put on good, consistent matches. I wasn't concentrating on PWI or anything like that. I just wanted to prove to everybody in the world that like I can work, I can do this because
And we are waiting for Mr. Zoe. I'm sure he'll come right back on here, but it is Alpha Zoe Day, and if you want to follow him on Instagram, you can check him out on the _ Alpha Zoe, and it is also Alpha Zoe Day on Sportswire Radio. So hopefully, Mr. Zoe will return to the screen. There we go. I think we see him right back up here. I just saw you on you turn your thing off, but maybe you'll come back on here. But yes, we say hello to Zilla. There, okay. Maybe you're trying to click back on here. I hope you come back on, champ. We'd love to see you on here. We're almost done with the interview anyway. But if you are here on Sportswire Radio, I would hope that you hit the sub button for us, and we'll be here at 9 o'clock tomorrow. I'll be here with Austin James of DBW. You've also seen him in EBW, and he'll be here live to get us ready for the return of DBW. DBW returns here later this month, and I'm also here Tuesday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, to celebrate the birthday of Omen Black, the boogeyman of the Midwest. The IMF World Champion will be back to celebrate his birthday. We look forward to that. I'll also have coming up here some other guests, so that'll be here all this week on Sportswire Radio. And are we back, Mr. Zoe? I see you're trying to connect, trying to click back. I hope you'll come back. We'd love to see you back. And yeah, it's there is the Evil Angel Judas. I saw your Instagram story, and I'm excited to maybe see your return to the ring. But yeah, the Alpha Zoe, we were just watching it, Judas. He just wrestled Alex Shelley right before Alex Shelley had wrestled going into WWE. It's one of his, like, I think it's either his last or second to last match before he went to WWE. And he actually defeated him, Alpha Zoe. And he's also been in the ring with the House of Black. It was on AEW Collision about 5 months ago. Also seen him in the ring with Lee Moriarty, Lilo Rush, Titus Alexander. A lot of big names he's been in the ring with. Speedball Mike Bailey, he's beat him. And hopefully the internet hasn't defeated him 1, 2, 3. And hopefully the internet will, let's just say, come back here so we can finish the interview. But obviously some big shows coming up, and maybe the Evil Angel will tell us why he's going to beat Darkron 1, 2, 3 here coming up on Sports. There you go, champ. You're back. So good to see you.
yeah.
We're
So
almost done. Don't worry, but go ahead.
no, that was a phone call.
The PWI 500. Did Bill Apter call you or somebody in the PWI?
Listen, I was not expecting a phone call right now. I told everybody don't bother me.
We got about another 15 minutes. You got 15 more minutes.
Yeah.
But that just the PWI 500. Just
Oh,
you were
yeah.
telling us that you didn't even know that you were in it. That's
Yeah,
so interesting. The
yeah.
first time.
I didn't know because I was just trying to prove that I can have good matches, and I was just like going high on my sobriety too because I'm now 3 years sober from alcohol.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank you, brother. I appreciate that. So
I've
like,
never drank alcohol, so I'm always good to hear somebody like yourself. I drink soda though too much, but I drink too much soda, so
oh,
that's worse.
all right, change that to water, and you're golden.
Yeah, well, I'll let you know, but go ahead.
But yeah, I didn't know. I wasn't even trying to be on a PWI. Like when people asked me about it before, I was like, I was just trying to have good matches. I was just trying to, prove to everybody that like, oh yeah, I can wrestle. I can do this because people kept looking at like, oh, he's just a powerhouse. That's gonna throw people this and that. And my style started to completely change as time progressed. And people were like, okay, he can wrestle. Great. And so out of nowhere, I remember I woke up and I think I was at work or I was at home. I was somewhere, and I'm getting blown up on social media, and they're like, "Zoe made the PWI." I was like, "Did I?" I looked. I was like, "Oh shit, I did." Well, I mean, I was like, in my head, I was like, "That's cool." Like, I made it. I was like, I just wasn't expecting that. I didn't. It just wasn't the goal at the time. My goal was just to the sobriety and prove
Sure.
and just wrestle my ass off. That was it. That was my goal, just to keep making my waves happen. That
But
was
the
all.
PWI 500 does tell you that
Yeah,
somebody's watching you and they rated you. I mean, like I said, I was a kid. That's how I found out about other wrestlers. I would go to the newsstand, like I was telling you in Brooklyn, and I would go and buy the PWI 500. I'm a couple of years older than you, so I would. That's how I would really knew about wrestling. But we didn't have
yeah,
Facebook and Twitter. We didn't have Instagram. 20 years ago. So like that's how I would go and find out who is who. And that's why I feel like that's a big deal. And to Rhino actually was like, that was one of the bigger things in his career that, when I asked him that question. So then the second time this year, you're ranked, I think 405. So
yeah.
how'd you feel this year? So how did you feel now that you got it 1 year under your belt? So you had to have been expecting this year then, right?
I as
No?
as weird as it sounds, I was not really thinking much on it.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was like, because I was told again that I made PWI. I didn't know. I work a lot. Like I
Mm,
wrestle, I train, I do this, I do that. I don't pay attention to like that
okay.
particularly. So like I'm at work. I'm literally because I work at a high school. So I'm at work and then I get tagged. I'm like, oh, I made the PWI again. And I was like, oh well, great. At least I went down a couple of numbers. Like I was happy but at the
You
same
went
time.
that 75. I mean, that's really big, and that's a big. That means like you're going up the ladder. That's
Yeah,
an indication that this year you might hit. I don't know the 350, 330. I don't know. You might. You're getting closer. That's like you're getting to where. Yeah, like that's
yeah.
a big deal. I mean,
Yeah, it is. It's just as I said, I just be so focused on other things that I don't think about a lot, like other stuff. Like like when that whole ID thing happened, I wasn't really thinking much on that. PWI, I never really thought of that. I was just like, I just want to have good matches. I just want to let people know that like I'm here.
but
Uh,
you deserve to be recognized. I mean, you've
yeah,
wrestled Shelley, you've wrestled Speedball Mike Bailey in the past year. You've been in Japan. So to me, like, I mean, how could you not be in the PWI 500? You know,
yeah. It's just it's humbling. Like don't get me wrong, I'm happy about it.
I had
It's
on a women's wrestler about 3 weeks ago, Lydia Myers, who's kind of like the woman's version of, in terms of notoriety. I wouldn't say wrestling style, obviously, but she's very well known here in the Northeast. And I ask her every 6 months she comes on. And I go, now they have the women's version of it, and I think it's 250. And I asked her, I said, Lydia, do you want to be on it? And she gave a complete opposite answer. She's like, no, Tom, I'm thinking about, I want to be on it. So it just depends on who you are. I think it just depends on what your goals are and what your mindset is. I mean, so look,
yeah,
but it's a great honor. I would think back to back years to be on it. you're like moving up the ladder. You're going somewhere. It's a good indication, I think.
Yeah, it's a great indication. I just, you know, people call me too humble, and I'm just like, man, that's just how I grew up.
I know the feeling. I'm from Brooklyn.
Yeah,
People send me. I have people that tell me on Facebook, you interviewed Rhino. You interviewed." I'm like, yeah, they're just people. But some people are like, you get. I think that's the way you have to be in life. I was, told, you just treat people the way you want to treat people, and I think the rest will sort itself out. I know you're a busy man though. You got a lot going on here. I definitely would like to get you back on, but if you had any final words for Vito Fratelli coming up here before Saturday, what would they be?
um, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Well, Vito might get it. Vito might get punched in the mouth this time. I think this
Also,
time Vito might get it.
before we even go off, West Coast Pro will be having a show March 22nd. I'll be in a dog collar match with Mad Dog Connolly. So
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah,
His name's come up.
yeah. So with that being said, that's fuck that guy. I don't like him. Uh,
Understood. Understood.
yeah, madly understood. He attacked me after we wrestled the first time, and I tried to, raise his hand like good shit, and then he attacked me. So be on the lookout for that. March 22nd. It's going to be
Okay.
on my spot. It's going to be streaming on there. Yeah, I'm going to try to kill him.
I think sometimes they stream some of these shows. I don't think it's West Coast Pro, but it's some of these shows in California. I get them through IWTV sometimes, or
Oh
it's
yeah, but West Coast Pro now is with High Spots right now. So
okay.
yeah, so if you want to see me just brutalize somebody, March 22nd. If you want to see me win, the WWE title, just be on the lookout with me raising my hand up with the belt like this, after.
Well, I'm gonna get you back on. I think we're gonna get you back on after that. I got to ask you one more question before I let you go. Jacob Fatu, you were in the ring with him. Now Tarzan wrestled him, and Tarzan, basically had his thoughts on it. But Jacob Fatu, you knew when you were across the apron from that he was going to WWE. Like, what made Jacob Fatu what he was in the ring to be across the apron from him?
Jacob Fatu is literally his own entity. He is legitimately the total package without him even knowing that he is. Very humble, very happy and outgoing. But when he's in the ring, he means business. He puts his heart and soul into this. Me and him trained together at Oasis because he was one of the trainers, not trainees. He's one of the trainers.
Yeah, California, Northern
Yeah,
California.
North California. Yeah, because he lived out
Yeah.
here. So, and then on his time off when he didn't have nothing to do, he'll come train with me. And at some point, the writing was just on the wall. It was just right there.
Yeah, Tarzan said when he was in the ring with them, he said the family was there. You were there. The family was there, and it was like, yeah. I was like, Tarzan, you knew he was going? He was like, yep, I knew. I knew he was getting signed. It was his exact words. He knew he was getting signed. So, you
the
know.
the moment I stopped seeing him come to training is when I knew. I was like, oh, he's gone. That's it. He got signed, and lo and behold, he showed up out of nowhere and super kicked Roman Reigns. I was like, well,
Well, it was nice seeing you.
there's,
I guess
there's
we
my
won't be
boy.
training. I guess we won't be hanging out anymore. I guess we won't be training.
Yeah, there goes my boy. He did the unthinkable.
Well, you're here instead. You know what? I got a chance to hang out with you for over an hour, and I'll take that. And it was a great honor, and I hope you'll come back because Darrow, I'm sure, will be very happy about this. So I'm going to, though, in the meantime, give you the floor. I'm going to pass the baton to you. And any closing thoughts, anything else you'd like to plug, share, or say, and fire away, good sir.
Everybody just enjoy the rest of your night. Have a blessed one. Just keep on pushing. Never stop your grind. Wrestlers, non-wrestlers. I just want everybody to succeed.
I've worked in politics, and I knocked on 15,000 doors one year, and we lost by like 700 votes. It was like, shoot, I should have knocked on more doors, and I only did 15,000 or something like that. So I know the grind. Literally, it's you gotta in life. You gotta just keep trying. You never
E-
know.
Exactly. So you never know. Like as I'm trying to do, you never know when you're going to get picked up by somebody.
No,
So
you just don't know. Listen, life, one door closes, another door opens, and it's been a great honor to have you. And I definitely look forward to having you on anytime you like. In the meantime, it is Alpha Zoe Day here on all Sportswire radio platforms, and you can follow him on Instagram as well. And he'll be in action coming up a few times this Saturday, especially for Wrestling Warzone. You'll see him in Oasis. You'll see him in a number of different places. Check out his Instagram page for all the details, all the great stuff. And my friend, thank you so much for all that you do for our sport. Thank you for this opportunity. And I look forward to watching you and Mr. Fratelli. I look forward to talking about the fallout from it. And congratulations on all of your success. And the best is yet to come. And I look forward to seeing you here very soon on Sports by Radio.
thank you, brother. I appreciate you, and I'll definitely be back.
I appreciated that just as much as you would mean the world to me on that. That is Mr. Alphazo. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters. Again, I'll be here tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern time, with Austin James of DBW and EBW Pro, and he actually knows Tarzan Duran. What a small world, and he'll talk about that and some. But in the meantime, if you're here, like, share, and follow this interview. Follow Alphazo on Instagram. Thank you to Darryl Johnson for this opportunity. And until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the number one global radio station that is Sports by Radio, where all wrestling matters. Thank you, everybody.